Welcome back to another episode of, that's right, the Unframe of Mind show, where we have uncomfortable conversations without a condom. I'm your host, Daniel Wagner.
And I'm Anthony Trawick.
Yeah, and Anthony Trawick almost forgot his own name. And that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. We still So tell me, Anthony, tell me, what are we doing today?
Well, we've got another guest coming on the show. Actually, he's a frequent guest now, David Mecey, who launched his magazine, Mecé Magazine, this year. And a part of this little journey that we're kind of going down with him, we've also had the opportunity to talk to several models in the process and kind of get their, a little bit of their life story, their feedback on what it's like to work with David, kind of the behind the scenes. And the idea behind this was to get to know the models themselves, and just kind of understand, there's more to them just than a pretty smile and a set of boobs, So,
it's nonsense.
But what I think has been so intriguing about this journey with David is he's reinventing what it is to photograph women. And beyond just the photography itself, it's, everybody has a unique story to tell, talking about their personal life. And that's something I've always wanted to do, because I can remember as a kid, getting a Playboy, and you don't know much about the girl other than what was in the magazine. But I wanted to know more and more and more, and just kind of get an idea of what their life is like, and, and realize, again, there's more than seeing them and just in practically nothing. So I thought this would be a great way to kind of dive into that and see what happens.
You're listening to the Unframe of Mind show, the place to have the most mind-stretching, unprotected, intellectual intercourse of your life. Your hosts battle the forces of evil by lobbing fiery balls of truth, reason, and evidence over safe room walls.
I have
on the way now.
A fan. I have a fan.
Aww.
She has a fan.
Everybody wave to Renee.
Everybody. She has more than one fan, though.
I can turn it off and see if that makes a difference.
I don't think it's the fan. It's too far away from you.
I'm not hearing it anymore. Whatever it's.
Okay. Well, I need my one fan. So.
Whatever it was gone. Yeah, everybody needs at least one fan. So
it's truly her only fan.
There's no S on the end of it.
Hey.
Ooh,
that's
nice.
Not true. Okay, so let's introduce our guests for the day. We have Mr. David Mecey, and we have Renee.
Hey guys,
and Renée Auguste. Hey,
hi.
Yes. So I'm like, what's going on? Tell me about what's going on in the world of Mecé Magazine coming up very soon.
Well, what's going on is this. First off, we've already published 3 issues, 3 magazines in, and I was just in fact, I told this to Anthony earlier today. We were talking that I got a humongous compliment from the distributor that's located in New York. What we do is on the 23rd, 24th of each month, we ship the magazine complete to them. They take it, break it apart, put it back together so that it is online properly, and will download, or not download, but people can see it correctly and all that stuff. So I was speaking to one of the people there, and he said we had some of our people from Europe in, and they were asking me, what's up with this new Mecé magazine? Why is it so popular? And he said, what do you mean? And he said, well, we've got a lot of people asking about it, and wondering what's going on and wanting to know what it's about. And I said, really? And he said, well, it's what it is a former staff photographer for Playboy. His name's David Mecey. He started this magazine, and it's loosely based on what classic Playboy was, but with a little bit of a modern twist to it. And so he said, that's what's going on. And they said, wow, well, and then he proceeded to tell me that of all the magazines of this type, which are more provocative, we are the, I guess, most popular one it's the best startup of any magazine like mine they've ever handled before. So it was a huge, huge compliment, and just made me go, whoa, okay, well, that kind of inspired me to go, well, I think I need to keep working 24/7 like I've been doing, and keep the magazine going. So that was a huge, huge compliment about the magazine.
So with that said, one of the things that I think is going to make the magazine continue to grow and be popular is the fact that I'm about to have a model in there that's in her 50s and looks fantastic, and that's Renee.
Wow, in fact, wait to meet her.
I'm sorry?
I can't wait to meet this 56-year-old lady.
Well, you should be excited because I promise. And we just did her photo shoot, literally about a week ago, a little over a week ago. And she did great. When we first started talking about doing this was about 2 months ago, wasn't it, Renee? I think.
Yeah, early April.
Yeah. So I was on tour at the time, and when we started talking about doing it, she said, "Well, I need to get ready for this. I need to start working out, changing my diet, and all this kind of stuff." Okay, well, great, go for it. And man, it's obvious that she was very successful in doing that. And so when she came to Vegas, she looked fantastic. And so the shoot went really well, and the pictures look great. So I'm excited. And she's going to be in the July issue.
You know what's interesting about this is that I remember you calling me up, or no, I think I may have called you, and you were like, "You're not going to believe this." And I said, "Well, what's going on?" And of course, he was explaining to me that he had two women that were in their 50s, and he was just like, "You got to see these women, and at their age." So he sent me the emails, and I'm just like, "Wow." And when I have had friends of mine that have seen the photos of you, Renee, I asked them, "How old do you think that she is?" And every single time I get mid 30s or late 30s from every single person that I've showed that, your picture up to them. And what's interesting is that David has such a way of drawing people in. So I'm not surprised that his age group is so broad, as far as, going from 20s all the way up to 50s. But what I want to talk about first is, how did you know David? Like, what is the connection there between the two of you guys?
So basically, about 10 years ago, I actually wanted to audition for Playboy. And Playboy turned me down because I was too old. And so...
Thank God they did.
Their loss.
So I had initially approached David. I don't remember the conversation because it was like 10 years ago. But one of the playmates actually sent me to him. And we had a little chat, and we've been on Facebook for 10 years together. So then I got an Instagram, finally. And I went on, and I'm like, "Oh, there's David." And so, I clicked on her, and he hopped on and emailed me and said, "Do you want to do a pictorial with me?" Okay, yeah, sure, let's do this.
What I find, what's interesting though is everybody that I have spoken with that has worked with David has always had the best things to say about him, and everybody wants to work with him. I've only known David for the last couple of years, and of course, I've never actually physically worked with him, although that would be for a different magazine, if that was the case. But in the time that I've had the chance to get to know him, he's always been a really down to earth person. He's really easygoing. He was here in Nashville, I think about 2, maybe 3 years ago, and had the pleasure of actually meeting David in person for the first time. And so, as I've gotten to know David over the years, I understand the very infectious personality that he has that people are just so drawn to. Now, that kind of brings me to my next kind of question. But when you decided to, actually, let me kind of rewind that. Has modeling always been kind of in your life? Was it kind of here and there or consistently? Kind of give us an idea of what was going on with your modeling career, if you even had one.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I only pursued it here and there because my number one was art, and I used myself as a model. But regarding like photos, yeah, I here and there throughout the years I would do modeling, but it wasn't my main bread and butter. It was just once in a while. It wasn't anything major. every once in a while, though, people would say, hey, let's take photos of you. So my main passion was art, and I used myself as the model. And so I always wanted to stay, in shape and look good, so I would have a good model to work with.
So now, what was the kind of give us, I guess, an explanation, not really an explanation, but just kind of a detailed, like, what was it like working with David? Was it comfortable? Like, was the setting what you thought it would be? Did the photos turn out the way you wanted them? Kind of give us an idea of how that turned out.
Well, he is a little scoop of sugar to begin with. And, it's funny because I've come across a lot of creepy people, and he is not creepy. He knows what he's doing, and he can be really funny without being creepy. I know the difference. And so we can joke around, and it's fine. It just doesn't come across like you would expect someone to come across, right? He's really sweet, and then when he's I like to call it photographizing. When he's photographizing, he's there's a different hat on him altogether. He's really focused. He's like, okay, do this, turn slightly, and it's amazing because I don't know what I look like, so he's got to guide me just right. It might be just the slightest turn, and then boom, he's like, oh, got it, and so it's really, really fun working with him. I've had other people who have known him who said the same thing. That is amazing.
In fact, one of the playmate that she was talking about, I think, is the one I did her centerfold, right? Was it Susie that told you?
Yeah, I believe it was Susie. I have a few friends, but I believe it was Susie who mentioned you.
Awesome. Cool.
Now, just kind of going back to something you had said earlier, you had mentioned doing art. Now, is that something that you do as a hobby, or is this a profession thing, or how long have you been doing it for?
I started when I was 3. I knew,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I knew this is what I wanted. I just knew. And so I started when I was about 3 years old. By the time I was in kindergarten, I was teaching other people how to do their art. Obviously, at a 5-year-old level. And I pursued it all the way through school. I got an art scholarship when I was 14 and continued to pursue it. Now, I had other things going because art is not something easy to make a living off of. It took me a really long time. Now, don't get me wrong, I sold paintings, but it wasn't consistent enough to make a living off of. At about 46, all of a sudden, boom. And everything started to come together, and I was able to make a living off it and buy a house and car and all that good stuff.
Wow.
Part of that was
that's few and far between, I would imagine.
Pardon?
I said that's few and far between, I would imagine, folks who actually were able to make a living off of their artwork.
I was very persistent because I knew that was what I wanted to do. That was it. And I really feel like what the modeling shoot I did with David is also all part of the art. I got to be, which is so nice, is normally I'm creating the art. I got to be the canvas this time, and he got to paint me, and that was really fun for me as an artist to be able to be his muse, to be his painting. Yeah.
So I'm curious, was there some kind of like switch that flipped, or something that you implemented, or something that you did that suddenly made you start to be more successful with your artwork, or was it just the constant persistence the whole time?
Well, I was persistent. Don't get me wrong. As soon as I started, I love children, and I love teaching, and I love art. So I threw it together, and it was just a freak accident. It started off with one person, and they said, "Can you teach my kids?" Well, when you teach a child one-on-one, I go to their homes, and I teach them one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And one or two at a time, you should see the artwork. We work in oils, and you would not believe me. You would think that I painted it. I have now a 3-year waiting list to get into my classes.
Wow.
Because these kids are astronomical. Like, when you work one-on-one on them, and then, of course, the grown-ups, they're like, I want to join too. So now I've got, grown-ups in there, and I've been doing that for about 10 years. And it is Oh man, it's amazing. It makes my heart happy.
So you said that you did a lot with kids. That kind of leads me to my next question. Do you have kids of your own?
I don't. And I feel so fortunate actually, because that way I can really focus on my students and just, because if I had my own kids, I don't think I'd be doing this, because I'm really focused on my own kids. This way I could.
But was it a choice not to have kids, or was just the timing never right? What was it?
I just couldn't. My
Oh.
Yeah, I just can't. It's just my body. I got really sick, and that just kind of fixed that. So, but I figured it guided me towards what I'm doing now. I would not be so blessed to have this job. It's not even a job. It really isn't. I would not be so blessed to have this job if things didn't land the way they did in my past. So
yeah,
I'm just tickled. I can't even tell you. I beam every time I see the kids, and they can feel it. They know I adore them.
Now, is there anything else that you do with children outside of painting? Or is painting just it with kids?
No, I write children's books. I have 6 children's books that I wrote and illustrated. That's about it. I mean, I married this one young lady from 8 years old to 17, and I'm not really young, so, but I get to be around kids a lot. So not having kids of my own, actually, I didn't really miss out, because I got to watch them grow up, because they never want to leave the class. So I have them 6-7 years later, they're still in my class, so I get to watch them grow up. Yeah.
That really does make a difference when your educator is really invested in what it is that you're doing. And I don't know, in a scenario you have 35 plus kids in a classroom, it's really hard to give that much needed one-on-one attention. So I think it's one of those two-way streets that really helps both parties involved, the teacher and the student alike.
And they're also my friends. We get so close because they're with me for so long. When we get so close, we become family, because it is one-on-one or one-on-two or 3, but it's a very small amount. And they tell me their problems, and I'm always happy to hear. So they love having a friend that's not necessarily their age, and it's not their mother. It's somebody who actually wants to be around them and teach them. And they really get a kick out of that.
That is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, have you decided to, I know you said you had 6 children's books that you have published. Do you plan on doing any more later on down the line?
I think I probably will. What I want to do is get these 6 kind of out there. The last one I finished during the pandemic, and everything kind of came to a grinding halt. And so then I lost a little bit of momentum. I did sell a bunch, but then by the time I got to the 6th month, that one I finished in 2020. So it kind of, I couldn't get all the things I wanted to do, I ended up not doing. But that's okay. It'll fall together when it's ready. And I will eventually write some more.
It's kind of interesting to hear the backstories of everybody that went through COVID and the whole pandemic and how it affected their lives. David being a freelance photographer, he struggled, and Daniel quit his job and decided to do his own thing. And then, of course, the situation with your book. I unfortunately just took a little vacation for about a month and a half and fished every day. So it's interesting how the pandemic has either really set so many people back, and then it's really actually helped a lot of people. Because I hear people all the time talk about, especially in the music industry, that was the best time for that pandemic to hit, because they had no choice but to really record as much as they could, because they spent a lot of time in the studio. So I didn't know if the pandemic gave you that opportunity to really sit down and write more books, or kind of what was going on there.
Well, we did Zoom classes. I didn't even know what Zoom was. Honestly. Wow. I had no idea what Zoom was, and we did Zoom classes, and I sailed right through. And then I ended up selling a few paintings, and my paintings sell for a lot. So that got me through a few months right there. So I was good. I just sailed right through it. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Daniel, it almost kind of makes me think if doing an NFT for one of her paintings would be a good idea.
It's definitely worth a shot.
Are you familiar
He's like, I don't know what that is.
Well,
what was it you said about something about my penis?
NFT, non-fungible token. It's big in the crypto world, and you see a lot of these one-of-a-kind paintings, and just it could be anything really, and especially with paintings going for millions of dollars because they're just a one-of. And if you actually, win that bid, that becomes yours. You own that. It's a digital is what it is. So I was kind of curious about that, if you knew anything about the NFTs or whatnot. But if you don't, that's fine.
Yeah, we can always,
I mean, you seem like you're doing well without it,
You can kind of see a couple. Whoops! I don't know.
Yeah,
over here, you can see some things behind me.
Did I show them? Did I show them the piece that you did for me?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
She did a painting for me as a gift. Hang on, I have to move from my desk here. And
we're going on a sightseeing tour.
Yes, we're going on a sightseeing tour.
We get a tour of the Play Mansion or the Mecey Mansion.
Mecey Mansion.
See it?
Oh, is that you, David?
Oh wow!
Nope. That is a sexy fairy.
That is a very sexy.
I think that was David.
No, I didn't really think that was David. You got to watch
next week on Unframe of Mind.
Yeah, you got to watch my sarcasm. It comes off quick and subtle.
So
you can see some of the paintings behind me.
Boy, I have so much trouble. Like, I love doing artwork and drawing, but when it comes to the human form, that is one thing I struggle with so much, and I don't know what it is about it. I could draw animals all day, but when it comes to drawing people, it's like, that doesn't look like people at all.
I could help you with that.
Yeah, there's a character I'm creating called Toilet Paper Man. That's my mind works in weird ways, but his whole upper torso is the toilet paper roll, and the toilet paper trailing off the back is his cape. So I posted it on my Facebook page and asked for people's ideas about what to do for the head. But just drawing that sketch, the human parts of it, the arms and the feet, I was like struggling with that. And I was like, good Lord, get it together, man. Anyway.
It just sticks and be fine.
So all that was to say, I your handle over the human form. It looks very, very well done. Very well done.
Thank you. You can kind of see the light behind me. There's a couple back there. You can see it, and there's a hot air balloon back there. You see it back there?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
It's a little dark in there.
Yeah.
I'm digging the whole blue-red lighting vibe you got going on here.
She's got a mood going on in her little space right there. I've noticed.
That lighting that we have set up is actually, if I tell my phone sexy, that turns on.
Really?
Yep,
that's a thing you can do?
Yep.
Wait, what other lighting setups do you have?
We also have sexier.
Oh.
Daniel, we need that for the studio.
I know. No, just me and you in the studio together by ourselves. Anthony's like, hey.
We don't even have to hit record.
Turn on sexier lighting. Daniel's over here like, no.
And people wonder how we got monkeypox. I mean, come on.
Long story.
Yeah, long story. That's for another show. No, so kind of moving on from that. I just drew a blank. That happens a lot. That's why this pre-record.
Fantastic.
Oh, I know where I was going. So you had mentioned we. So I'm assuming there's a significant other, spouse, kind of. What's a little bit of your personal life? What?
My hubby. And,
your hubby.
Yep. And he actually works in the industry. He does lighting, and sound and everything. He was able to help David. Sorry, David.
So he was a part. He was there during the shoot itself.
He was, yeah.
In fact, it was one of the locations where we were shooting. He had to be our lookout to make sure nobody walked in on it.
Oh no!
Yep. Because like, take a picture, go.
I'm assuming it's because she was posing, nude. Is that the reason as to why, he was having to look out?
Well, it looks like David is frozen there. Doing a really adorable smile.
I know.
Screenshot that. Screenshot it.
He's so cute. Look at his cute little smile.
You got to screenshot it. Send it to me.
I did. I screenshot this.
You got to screenshot. Look at you, so cute. Yeah.
You got to love David.
I've seen way worse freeze frames.
He's so cute.
It's a very fortunate one.
So I was talking about her husband. When we were out at this location, I needed someone to make sure nobody just walked in on us. And so he was doing that. Plus, he being into photography, he was doing some behind-the-scenes photos for me as well. So he shot a few behind-the-scenes pictures while being a lookout. So it was awesome. And he helped me move my equipment in and out of where we were. So, and then the same thing on Sunday with a little bit of a mishap, but it's all good. It was a little mishap, but it's no big deal. So, he was actually a big help, and he was so enthusiastic about it. And I really enjoyed meeting him, and he was very supportive of Renee, which is very important in that role as the other half.
I can't even imagine trying to work with a model who's doesn't have the support of their significant other. Have you ever been in that situation, David?
Oh, yeah. And it's very difficult, if not sometimes impossible, because they're always sort of thinking in their minds, what is he thinking I'm doing right now? Or do I need to call him? Or all this. I mean, it's just awful.
It really shouldn't matter what you're thinking.
It's
like if you're secure with your other half, then that's all that matters.
Exactly, and that's what's so great about their relationship. I mean, and by the way, he's younger than Renee. She didn't tell you this yet, but he's much younger. Oh, she did.
Yeah, no, he's very secure.
You missed that part when you froze for like a half hour.
Oh, the cutest little smile. Oh my goodness, we got a screenshot of your cute smile.
Oh yeah, we did. Yes, we got it too. So be on the lookout for that one on Facebook, David.
Oh no!
It was the sweetest little thing, just stuck.
I love it. Is it one of these?
No, it was a good pit. It was a good shot. It really was.
Really? I was actually sort of smiling instead of like.
You had the same grin on your face that I had on mine when I saw a naked woman for the first time, if that does you anything.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh.
No, he's very secure. So David and I, we could just go to town, do whatever it is we needed to do. He trusts me. That's all that matters.
That is all that matters. Oh my God. That is the most important thing.
Oh, yeah. I think my age might have something to do with it because, I've seen a lot. It doesn't, he trusts me. I've seen so much now.
You would think at a point in your life, you just don't tolerate that kind of stuff in your relationships or even marriages anymore. That you've been together long enough to feel comfortable and to support one another, or at least have a discussion before you go through with something. That's the mature thing to do, obviously. But it fascinates me when I talk to friends of mine about the guests that we've had on that either pose for Playboy or, for Mise Magazine. And I would never let my wife do that. And I'm kind of thinking, why not? I mean,
let your wife.
Trust your wife, don't you? That's the main thing. You trust your wife. That's all it matters.
I don't know if it's so much of that, but I think photographers in general over the years have got a bad reputation of coming onto their models. And I'm just assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but that's what I've heard a lot over the years is that a lot of your photographers, tend to be that way. So I can see the stigma that kind of follows with that profession and what people think about them.
What's been happening is so many guys out there that are calling themselves photographers or getting cameras, and they just want to take pictures of pretty girls without their clothes on. And so it can get a little strange, and especially if they're not professional. I mean, I know a lot of the guys out there are attempting to act professional, but they don't even really know what being professional is, to be honest. I mean, what they see on TV or in movies is what they might think is a professional attitude, and the way they portray it in movies and TV is really not how it is for the most part. Almost 99% of the time, they misrepresent how a professional photographer acts. And so because they want to create drama and a little bit of seediness to it and all that kind of thing. And so it's not really represented the way it should be. And so because of that, you've got a lot of these, I'm going to use the term yahoos, that are out there pretending to be a photographer when they're not. And they will produce an embarrassing situation, sometimes without even realizing they're doing it. And then there are those that are just a little bit slinky, and they just do it. They just say something or try a move or something like that. So it's sadly, because of the number of guys out there now calling themselves photographers, it's just, like you're going to get not just one bad apple, but a lot of bad apples. And that's what's been going on and happening, sadly.
Well, and I think that your years in Playboy, especially, from a while back, is just different than the way photography, I believe, is done today.
Oh, well, the way it was back in the 80s, the late 70s and 80s, when I started at the magazine, the level of professionalism was just up here. And in fact, when girls would come in to shoot with us, they were always kind of blown away at how professional we were. And by that, how respectful we were of them, how we always tried to make them feel as comfortable as possible at every given moment. That wasn't even what they thought it was going to be like. And it was that way. And that's just the way it's always been for me. I mean, the way I started in this business, to be able to last as long as I have in this business is why I continue to be the demeanor that I am, and how I act around the women, how I really do respect them. I love photographing them. So that's part of, I guess, the secret, if there is a secret, on my success of being able to continue to do it all these years. And it really comes
across. It really comes across. As a female, I cannot tell you. I can tell the difference between someone like David and someone who's the opposite. And it really comes across, his professionalism really comes across. Even when he's joking, I can sense it. You can see it. Somebody ringing, that's not my end.
Somebody expecting company?
That's me.
Bring him on the show.
Is that our problem child again?
Yes, it's me. It's my doorbell.
Yeah, no, but I can tell you.
Go answer it, David.
Let me come on. At least we'll have some laughs on this one. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Renee, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is great.
But yeah, no, from a female model point of view, you can tell the difference. I think, how I was telling you how the kids respond really well to me? Yeah. Because I actually like them, right? And I respect them. That's a huge one right there. And they can sense it like crazy. You cannot fake that stuff because people will sense it. And I think with David, one of the reasons he's so successful is because women aren't stupid. They can sense this stuff. And they might go through with something because, it's a good opportunity. But they know it's a nasty situation. They just have to weigh it out. But with him, I knew immediately he was good.
And I think his reputation of 20 plus years in Playboy, and it's not hard to find out if he's a creep or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, my friends, obviously, that I have a few centerfold friends. Obviously, they all love him, so that helps.